Moscow, Idaho, the morning of November 13, 2022, will go down in the town's history as one of shocking disbelief, a horrific quadruple murder, and a sense of anxiety and paranoia for all the residents in the small city. The case of the Idaho Four didn't just affect the small university town, but sent shockwaves around the US. If you're new to this case, Bad Things has you covered. Check out our other videos on the case to get up to speed. With murder-accused Brian Kohberger's trial coming up in August of this year, we are going to take a look at some of the most damning evidence against him and give you a teaser on evidence that his lawyers say could see him walking out of the court a free man. According to the court affidavit by the prosecution and the true crime community, 5 key points of evidence point to Brian Kohberger being guilty of the brutal murders. Number 1. Dylan Mortensen's eyewitness account. Madison Mogan, Zana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Ethan Chapin were murdered by an unknown assailant on November 13, 2022. The murderer left 2 potential witnesses walking straight past one of the surviving girls in the hallway of the house as he made his escape. According to the probable cause affidavit in the case, Dylan Mortensen stated that she was asleep on the 2nd level of the house, the same floor as Kernodle and Chapin, when she was woken up by what sounded like Gonsalves and her dog. She said she subsequently heard a roommate saying something along the lines of, "There's someone here." Dylan reported that she felt that Gonsalves had said this, although investigators think it may have been Kernodle speaking. Dylan reported that she opened her door twice and heard what sounded like crying coming from Kernodle's room, followed by a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Dylan opened her door a 3rd time and saw a person wearing black clothing and a mask that covered his mouth and nose approaching her. The man, whom Dylan didn't recognize, walked past her and exited via the sliding glass door. Dylan said that she went into a frozen shock phase and then locked herself in her room. Dylan's statement helped detectives establish that there was one male assailant and provided a basic description matching Brian Kohberger's height, build, and bushy brows. Number 2. The Hyundai Elantra. While poring over hours of surveillance footage around the house of death, investigators noticed a white car making multiple passes near and past the crime scene. No license plates were obtained from the videos, and investigators were up against it by sifting through the records of 22,000 plus 5th-generation Hyundai Elantras made between 2011 and 2013. In the hours and days after the murders, detectives asked locals to send in whatever information and footage they had of the night of the murder. By November 25th, they had asked other law enforcement authorities to watch out for the Hyundai. 3 days later, a Washington State University police officer on a midnight shift made use of his access to the university's campus car registration database to locate a vehicle that may fit the description of the Hyundai. 20 minutes later, a colleague discovered the car parked outside Kohberger's apartment. This discovery signaled a new phase in the investigation as officials worked backward, monitoring both the owners and the car's activities on the night of the attack. Part of this new line of investigation included Kohberger's cell phone records. Number 3. The cell phone pings. Investigators had already collected data from every cell phone in the area on the night of the murders, but Kohberger's phone was not among them. With the information that a vehicle matching his had been spotted in the area, police requested that AT&T provide them with all of Kohberger's location data for the previous 6 months. The data showed his phone left his house in the early morning hours of the attack and then stopped transmitting for about 2 hours around 2:47 a.m., the same time investigators believe the students were killed. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them is within a particular area where a crime is committed, Moscow Police Department Corporal Brett Payne would say. According to his arrest records, when police looked into Kohberger's mobile phone location history, they discovered that he had been near the victim's house at least 12 times in the preceding months, 11 of them late at night and once again a few hours after the murders. According to a recent interview with Steve Gonsalves, the father of victim Kaylee Gonsalves, Kohberger was sometimes so near to the victim's home that his phone was detected by their Wi-Fi. This statement may just be a figure of speech by the victim's father, as no evidence of this has come to light yet. Number 4. Kohberger's behavior and mental state before and after the murders. When a suspect is named in a case, the internet community goes into overdrive. Who are they? Have they done this before? Were there signs that they were capable of such a crime? Not surprisingly, Kohberger has left a digital and physical trail of what can only be described as a little weird and a lot of creepy. According to online remarks made by Kohberger in his teens, he may have battled with mental health issues and suffered from a rare neurological condition. These posts were shared on Tapatalk, also called Youku, a forum hosting platform. Kohberger reportedly never used his real name in the posts, but authorities believe several factors connected them to him. They all date back to roughly 2011, when Kohberger was 16. The posts mention Kohberger's birthplace and birth date, and the login used on the site corresponded to a known Kohberger email address. Some of the content in these posts had been verified by known Kohberger acquaintances from the same time. According to these online remarks, Kohberger suffered from visual snow syndrome as a teenager, a poorly understood neurological ailment that causes snow or static-like objects to appear in a person's vision, often accompanied by migraine headaches and anxiety. According to a visual snow specialist, people with visual snow often have psychological issues such as depersonalization. Depersonalization is a dissociative phenomenon characterized by a subjective feeling of detachment from oneself, manifesting as a sense of disconnection from one's thoughts, emotions, sensations, or actions, and often accompanied by a feeling of observing oneself from an external perspective. In later online posts attributed to Kohberger, he exhibited low self-esteem, frequent self-ending of life thoughts, and an inability to feel emotion, which began at the same time his visual snow symptoms appeared. He wrote in those posts, "I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I am looking at a video game, but less." He added, "Nothing I do is enjoyable. I am blank. I have no opinion. I have no emotion. I have nothing. Can you relate?" Later in Kohberger's life, his personality traits would become that of conflict, aggression, and being stalker-like, especially toward women. A college classmate remembers him routinely advocating opposing views in class and engaging in intense debates with other doctoral candidates. The classmate said that Kohberger had more disagreements with women, including an instance in which a female doctorate student stormed out of the classroom after accusing Kohberger of mansplaining. Several months before the murders, Kohberger was cautioned about interacting with women working and visiting a bar in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Jordan Sarelnik, owner of Seven Sirens Brewing Company, told a news source. Sarelnik added that the bar staff scan all guests' IDs and may add remarks that appear on their internal system. Staff put in there, "Hey, this guy makes creepy comments, keep an eye on him. He'll have 2 or 3 beers and then just get a little too comfortable," Sarelnik recalled. Sarelnik further said that Kohberger would often sit alone at the bar, observing and watching other guests, and question female staff and customers about where they lived and who they were drinking with. Sarelnik said that if the women were not interested in chatting, Kohberger would get upset with them a little bit, and that Kohberger referred to a female colleague as a bitch when she refused to answer his queries. Sarelnik had one last encounter with Kohberger, who never returned to the bar after the chat. "I went up to him and I said, 'Hey Brian, welcome back. We appreciate you coming back. I just wanted to talk to you real quick and make sure that you're going to be respectful this time and we're not going to have any issues.'" Sarelnik said Kohberger seemed shocked at his remarks and told the owner, "I don't know what you're talking about. You totally have me confused." Although this behavior isn't classed as evidence of his guilt, we can start putting a picture together of his frame of mind and feelings towards women. What may be called into evidence is his behavior after the murders. After law enforcement established that Kohberger was a person of interest, a surveillance team assigned to Kohberger was tasked with 2 missions: keeping an eye on him so that he could be arrested as soon as a warrant was issued, and attempt to obtain a DNA sample from Kohberger, which could then be compared to DNA evidence found at the crime scene. What the team saw raised some red flags. The team saw Kohberger wearing medical gloves multiple times outside his Pennsylvania family home, one time at 4 a.m., to deposit trash bags in the neighbor's garbage cans. To get a DNA sample, the agents retrieved this waste from the neighbors and Kohberger family's trash cans. Kohberger also cleaned his car inside and outside, not missing an inch, according to a law enforcement source. Was he trying to destroy any DNA evidence left behind in the car? That brings us to the most compelling evidence that may get Brian Kohberger the death sentence. Or maybe not. Number 5. The knife sheath. On the bed beside Kaylee and Madison's bodies, Moscow police officer Brett Payne noticed a tan leather knife sheath. This sheath would become central to the case against Brian Kohberger. The sheath itself is a vital clue. It had Kabar, USMC, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. Officer Payne wrote in a signed statement, submitted in court. According to investigators, the murderer would have been startled to see the 2 girls in the same bed and may have fought with Gonsalves, dropping the knife sheath in the scuffle. The knife sheath was swiftly submitted for touch DNA screening, which confirmed Dillon's statement that their assailant was a lone male. By now, investigators were on to Kohberger, but didn't have his DNA to compare to the knife sheath. This was when he was placed under 24-hour observation, and materials were gathered to determine a DNA match. A DNA sample was retrieved by lab technicians from a food sample found in the trash by the surveillance team. The test results indicated that Kohberger's father could not be excluded as the source of the DNA. This may not seem significant, but 99.9999% of all people on the planet could be eliminated from the sample, except for a Kohberger. From there, police found that there was a family link to the Idaho murder's knife sheath. Whoever touched a knife in Mogan's room was an offspring of Kohberger's father. Although many Kohberger supporters claim that the DNA sample may be coincidental, a post by ZestyClothes-Bag8790 on Reddit outlines how ridiculously coincidental all the evidence is. So ridiculous that it doesn't look like a coincidence at all. The number of K-bar knives in existence is very high, but the killer left a specific K-bar sheath, not just any sheath, one that is reported to have BK's DNA on it. If that is true, it is a big piece of evidence. What are the odds that BK decides to drive to the vicinity of the murders and has previously purchased a K-bar knife, and he can't find his K-bar knife or sheath? And the killer left a K-bar sheath that had BK's DNA on it, and he had his phone turned off or in airplane mode during the murder time. A K-bar knife costs about $120. People who buy one usually keep track of it. It was expensive. Buying one is common. Buying one and losing it is less common. Buying one and losing it and then having one discovered at a murder scene with your DNA on it is very rare. Also, going for a late-night drive and turning your phone off or in airplane mode at the time of the murders is unusual. These rare events happening to the same guy are even more rare. So Kohberger gets convicted due to DNA evidence in August. According to his defense team, think again. What seemed like an open-and-shut case for the prosecution took a new twist with the discovery of DNA from 2 other males at the crime scene. One genetic sample was found on a handrail inside the house, while the other was found on a glove outside. Both sets of DNA were blood-related, and the identities of who they belonged to are yet to be determined. According to a criminal defense attorney, Kohberger's defense team will likely use the unidentified DNA samples to muddy the waters, creating reasonable doubt in the jury's mind. That evidence could be any variety of things. It could be something, or it could be a lot of things that are nothing. There's at least something to be made of it, and it's better than having nothing as a defense, she added. Brian Kohberger's trial is scheduled to take place in Boise, Idaho, with Judge Stephen Hippler presiding over the case. So far, both legal teams are keeping evidence and their strategies close to their chests. All we do know for sure is that 4 college students were murdered for no apparent reason, and the circumstantial evidence is piling up against Brian Kohberger. Leave us a comment below and give us your take on this ongoing true crime saga.